for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, former Liberal Minister Bains. Former Liberal Minister Bains, as a Minister of the Crown, you're responsible to Parliament for all parliamentary appropriations under your department, are you not, in addition to appointments?
When all ministers set budgets, they need to be approved by Parliament. That is correct.
Right, you're accountable for that. So you're accountable for every dollar that's spent that that was allocated. I'm going to ask you, first of all, about your appointment of the chair, Annette Verschuren, who at this committee said 3 times that she didn't apply, that you phoned her twice to ask her to serve. And then,
point of order, Mr. Chair,
she applied after that.
Sorry,
not
Mr.
a point of debate, Mr.
Hold on. I do have a point of order. I do have to hear.
Okay, we'll start all over again then.
The point of order. Yes, Mr. Duane.
the particular person he's talking about has corrected the record. Has corrected the record in writing. Thank you so much.
No, she hasn't.
Well,
no, she hasn't.
okay.
No, she hasn't. If you will listen,
Okay,
you will get the
gentlemen,
answer. So I'll
stop.
start all
This is
over
clearly a point of debate.
No, it isn't.
I'll just remind the government members that I don't
You're a government member.
I don't like needless point of orders on either side. So my point, though, is not to highlight that it's a government member issue. It's not. It happens occasionally on both sides when debate gets heated. But you always have the immediately right of reply after Mr. Perkins. It is you, in fact, Mr. Drouin. And I hope that if you extend, in your side, courtesy on the official opposition, they will do the same. And if they do not do so, I will censure them as well. I am going to back up the clock for Mr. Perkins. You can restart your question, Mr. Perkins, not the time, just your question. So I'm backing up the clock, not from the top, but you can start your question from the top.
He interrupted me before I even got my question.
Mr. Perkins, I'm backing up the clock. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bains, you phoned, according to Annette Verschuren, you phoned her twice to ask her to serve. Is that correct? Because that's what she said at the committee.
As I have stated in my previous
I don't want a
testimony
dissertation on the appointment process. It's a simple yes or no. You phoned her twice, yes or no?
As I stated in my previous testimony at industry committee, I reached out to a number of people during my tenure as a minister and asked them to participate in this open, transparent, merit-based.
Mr. Perkins, I have a point of order. I've stopped the clock. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I believe that Ms. Verschuren, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, did
again, this
correct
is
her testimony.
Okay, I just ruled on this. This is not a point of order.
We will start from the
top. It does not make sense.
Okay,
it does not make sense for us to continue
to
harass a witness on this. The evidence is there, so I'm just not sure why. It just.
She applied after the
All right, Mr. Perkins, Mr. Perkins,
and you'll learn something for a change.
Mr.
Why don't you want to learn anything?
Mr. Perkins,
I will part of the cover-up coalition?
Mr. Perkins, I remind you
before I remind
you should. I take exception to your cover-up.
We are going to suspend for a minute.
No question. I appreciate a yes or no, not a rag the puck. Yes or no? You called Annette Verschuren 2 times as she testified here in committee.
As I had mentioned in my previous testimony, I was responsible for over 100 governor council recommendations.
Answer the question, or I'm going to
so
interrupt
I don't
you
recall
constantly.
specific
Answer the question. Did you phone her twice? That was her testimony. Is she telling the truth?
As I said, I don't recall any such conversations taking place.
She testified here that 3 times that she was asked by you. Who told you to ask her?
As I've said, in 2016, a new appointments process was introduced. It was open to all Canadians, and it's not uncommon for me as a minister.
I don't need a recitation of your opening statement again, Sergeant Schultz, saying I know nothing. Look, I'll go on to the next question. 2016, you appointed
Mr. Perkins,
I
do have a point of order. Ms. Khalid, you have the floor.
Maybe it's a point of clarification. I believe that the witness here today is Mr. Bains. I'm not sure who Sergeant Schultz or whoever this member is referring to. Absolutely disrespectful.
Agreed, Mr. Perkins. If you could refer to Mr. Bains as the witness or Mr. Bains, it would be appreciated to maintain decorum in the committee. Thank you.
Former Liberal Minister Bains, in charge of the Liberal Green Slush Fund, you appointed Andre Lise-Matteau in 2016 under your new and clean process, correct?
As I indicated in my opening remarks, my responsibility as a minister is to appoint 7 out of the 15 board members.
And you appointed her. And while she was on the board and while you were minister, $114 million of Green Slush Fund money was voted to her companies. And you had an assistant deputy minister in every single meeting. Do you expect Canadians to believe that you knew nothing?
Sustainable Development Technology Canada is an arm's-length organization. The management oversees the day-to-day operations, and there's a board that oversees management.
It's true.
And again,
they also
as
have
I said in my...
Cycle Capital, Andre Lise-Matteau's company, also had a lobbyist for 10 years. His name was Stephen Guilbeault. It still is Stephen Guilbeault. He lobbied for 10 years. $100 million during those 10 years went to Cycle Capital. He met 25 times with your office and you in the year before he was nominated. Do you remember any of those meetings?
During my tenure as a minister, I met with a number of stakeholders from the clean tech sector. I don't recall any specific meetings with the individuals you have mentioned.
You don't remember meeting with the now radical Liberal Environment Minister who was a nominated Liberal candidate? So I will ask you once again.
Mr. Perkins, one second.
I'm not sure why there's name calling going on within our committee here.
He's proud of being a radical.
Please. This one I will allow. These are statements we hear in the floor.
Which you guys have established. You guys keep repeating those statements. So I'm not sure why you think that it is okay
When you get to be the chair of the committee, you can rule on the line.
And call them to be credible because they are not credible.
I didn't weigh in on whether they're.
You just did.
I
Chair.
said they're echoing what we hear in the House of Commons, which is permitted. Ergo,
I would appreciate if the member redacts those comments.
Well, Ms. Khalid, that's not your call, Mr. Perkins.
I'm asking you to do it, Chair.
Pardon me?
I'm asking you to ask the member to redact those comments because they are absolutely unreasonable.
Miss Khalid,
I
have ruled
against
that
our
they are
democratic institutions.
Ms. Khalid, I have ruled that they are in order. Mr. Perkins has the floor. You have the floor, sir.
So you don't remember meeting with radical Liberal Stephen Guilbeault. Do you remember meeting with a fellow named Gerald Butts in those meetings who was working in the PMO? Since he's listed as meeting with you on this at the same time?
As you know, when I was made minister in 2015, Mr. Butts, the individual you mentioned, worked for the Prime Minister's office.
Did he, those meetings were about funding of Cycle Capital Fund 4. That's what's listed in the public thing, and he met with you. And then EDC, after those meetings, invested in Cycle Capital Fund 4. So that happened fairly quickly. Do you remember having those discussions about having Gerald Butts and the now radical Environment Minister lobbying you to get funds for Cycle Capital, whose founder was on the board that you appointed, from EDC?
As I said before, Sustainable Development Technology Canada is an arm's-length organization. And as you mentioned at the beginning, budgets are approved through the parliamentary budget process.
So on October 19th, only 14 days after some of those meetings, EDC announced $145 million for that. So you don't recall any of that, just like you didn't recall anything when you were at Industry Committee. Is that correct?
Could you repeat the question, please?
No, I won't repeat it again. You approved, one of the last things you did as minister was approve after all of this corruption. You took forward another $750 million for the Green Slush Fund, which was announced a month before you left the job to go work at CIBC and now at the most expensive cell phone company in the world, Rogers. So can you tell me,
Point of order,
with
Mr.
all
Speaker.
that corruption
Point of
going
order,
on,
Mr.
why did you
Speaker.
seek $750 million of more taxpayer
Again,
money?
relevancy, the member who is before us is not about here to answer about his future life, but here to answer about SDTC.
Well, if you get the wax out of your ears, you hear that I asked about the
okay,
$750 million approved by Cabinet that he took for the Green Slush Fund.
Mr. Perkins, your actions are just encouraging them to be belligerent to the chair as you're being belligerent to the chair. I would ask you to cease and desist when a point of order is called. Mr. Drouin, the same goes for you, Mr. Drouin. I allow members on both sides latitude to probe. There is no question of relevance here. Mr. Perkins just let me finish. Mr. Perkins is, as all members are, entitled to ask the questions in the manner they please, but his question is clearly, from what I can see, going in the direction of the topic we're studying. Ms. Khalid, do you have a point of order?
Yeah, on the same point of order that was raised by Monsieur Drouin, I don't see how the wax in his ears has anything to do with the questions that are being asked today.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, I'll back the clock up. You have the question again. Go ahead.
So I'll make it simple for you, Mr. Bains, since that seems to be the only way to try and get an answer. After $114 million went to Andre Lise-Matteau's companies, you went to Cabinet seeking another $750 million for the Green Slush Fund when 25% of the money was going to Cycle Capital, which Stephen Guilbeault owned shares on, was a lobbyist for. Why did you go to Cabinet for another $750 million for such a corrupt organization?
As been discussed before, Sustainable Development Technology Canada is an arm's length organization. The management oversees the day-to-day operations. There's an independent board that oversees them, and the budget process is debated in the House of Commons and approved by the House, and these monies are allocated to promote and support the clean tech sector.
Chair, I think this witness is in contempt of this committee since he refuses to answer a question and keeps repeating his either written PMO
Point of
speaking
order,
points
Chair.
or not. That's all he's doing.
Well, I think we're just
Point of order,
starting,
Chair.
and as skilled parliamentarians, you'll have repeated opportunities to get to Mr. Bains answered. Yes, Ms. Khalid.
Chair, I doubt that the member opposite has the qualifications to make those allegations. I believe that it is up to you to decide whether somebody's in contempt or not, and I personally don't think that anybody has been in contempt so far.
Very much. Mr. Perkins, could you ask your question again, and then we will get an answer and move on.
Very simple. Why did you seek $750 million more for this organization that was funneling money to your Liberal appointments when you knew it was a corrupt organization, and you went forward to give them more money from the taxpayer to further feather bed your political appointees and the Prime Minister's political appointees? Are you really that corrupt?
Budgets are approved by Parliament, and as I said, this is an independent organization that oversees the disbursement of these funds.
Thank you very much. Next up for Mr. Drouin.
For 6 minutes, please. I'd like to take the first seconds of my time to ask colleagues to please take a deep breath, because we have work to do, and I invite my colleagues from the government side to give me their time if they have no questions for Mr. Bains. I have a number of them. So, Mr. Bains, what is your relationship with Amber Batul?
Merci.
Thank you very much for your question.
I worked with Ms. Batul when I was at CIBC.
You didn't know Ms. Batul when she was Chief of Staff of SDTC?
Désolé.
I'm sorry.
Please, sorry, I didn't hear.
You didn't know Ms. Batul when she worked at SDTC?
I think I met her maybe once or twice at an event.
Donc, Madame Batoul.
So Ms. Batul was the chief of staff of SDTC, and you hadn't spoken to her more than once or twice at the time. Yet Ms. Batul followed you to CIBC. She obtained a position just after you at CIBC. Point of order, Mr. Chair. Once again, they're suspecting that this was a decision made at CIBC. This has nothing to do with SDTC. Can we stick to SDTC? Mr. Drouin, we let you talk about anything when it was your turn. We heard about Mr. Perkins and I don't know what else, but so now Mr. Bains knows very well how to speak. He can answer the questions asked by Ms. Sinclair Desgagnés that she's asking very respectfully.
Madame Sinclair.
So, Madame Sinclair Desgagnés, you have the floor. I think some people are afraid of the answers Mr. Bains could give. So, I'll start again. Ms. Batul followed you to CIBC. Once again, Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a point of order. This has no relation to the decision. If Ms. Sinclair Desgagnés suspects that Mr. Bains made the decision to hire this woman, she needs evidence.
You're on beyond less than thin ice because we just listened to you. The chair allowed you to go on for 6 minutes about yes, and I stopped the clock every time that happened to give you your time. But now for you to jump in and say that another member who's trying to ask questions to the witness can't be allowed to do so. I'm not sure who you think you are.
I don't, Mr. Chair. I think about relevancy of this. Why are we here? We are here to study SDTC, not CIBC, not Rogers, not anything else. SDTC.
And the members' questions are
Point of
going
order, Chair.
exactly in that direction. Yes, Ms. Kelly.
Point of order, Chair. I take exception to you questioning who Mr. Drouin thinks he is. He is a member of Parliament with the exact same privileges that we all have in this committee, and I don't think exactly. We have the privileges that we have within this committee, and I don't think that is something that you should be calling out.
That is correct, and Mr. Drouin was given an opportunity to speak. Now, Madame Sinclair Desgagnés, it's not up to Mr. Drouin to suddenly decide that what another member is asking is relevant or not.
Why do we have point of orders, Mr. Chair?
Well, again, I ruled on it, and now I'm moving on. Mr. Perkins, you had a point of order as well.
My point of order is about Mr. Drouin. From the moment I asked my first question within the first minute, he was interrupting. He chose as a tactic to try and disrupt every single sentence I said. Now he's doing it to the block member. It's a specific tactic to disrupt the committee. And because of his disruptive behavior, I would ask you consider that you not allow him to speak or remove him from the committee.
I would ask the same favor for Mr. Perkins who interrupted me.
Gentlemen, let's try to proceed with this. I would ask that Madame Sinclair Desgagnés be allowed to continue her questioning.
I was interrupted a number of times. So you can ask your question again. And once you've concluded, I'll begin at 5 minutes. Wait, there's another point of order.
Chair, I think it's only fair that Madame Sinclair Desgagnés gets her full 6 minutes at this point.
Well, Ms. Khalid is certainly going to, Madame Sinclair Desgagnés va certainement
Ms. Sinclair Desgagnés will certainly have her 6 minutes, so you can ask your question again.
But the interruption is happening because of the numerous points of order, which are, as I said, a little thin about relevance, when I'm going to allow members, and always have, a lot of latitude. Vas-y, Madame Sinclair Desgagnés.
Je remercie.
I'd like to thank my colleague opposite, and especially Mr. Drouin, for his mansplaining on the topic of study. Let's continue. Ms. Batul followed you to CIBC, and I received as information that you had a number of meetings with her while she was chief of staff at SDTC. You say it's not the case, that you maybe met her once or twice, but that's contrary to the information I've received.
confirmer avec vous.
I'd like to confirm with you.
As I've said before, I may have met her a few times. I don't recall a specific number of times. Again, SDTC is an arm's length organization where the management oversees the day-to-day operation.
Merci. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you. When you say a number of times, is this once or twice, or is it more like 10 or 15? To give an idea.
Again, I can't put a specific number on it.
Même,
It was over 6 years ago. I dealt with a number of people during my tenure as a minister. And so, as a minister,
D'accord.
my,
Merci.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Have you participated?
Merci. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Bains. Did you participate in her hiring at CIBC?
again,
vous ne la
I'm here to
connaissiez pas.
talk about
If you didn't know her.
Development Technology Canada and any questions you have pertaining to that.
Mes questions, c'est mon temps.
My questions, it's my time. I can ask you questions about the fact that you may have been a part of the hiring process for Ms. Batul. And if you didn't know her or hardly knew her, why did you participate? Did you push for her hiring at CIBC?
Vous allez voir où je vais en venir.
You'll see where I'm going. It has a relation with SDTC, so please answer.
Yeah, as I said, I'm more than pleased to answer any questions pertaining to Sustainable Development Technology Canada.
Monsieur le Président, j'arrive.
Mr. Chair, I'm getting to SDTC. I'm asking questions that are related to SDTC.
S'il vous plaît,
Please ask your question again.
Donc, pour la
So for the third time, I ask if you participated in the hiring process, the recruitment process for Ms. Batul at CIBC following your meetings with her as Chief of Staff of SDTC.
So as I've mentioned, I met with Ms. Batul when I was a minister. I don't recall the number of times specifically. And as I've also highlighted, Sustainable Development Technology Canada.
Merci. Donc,
Thank you.
donc, vous pouvez pas.
So you can't say that the fact that you met her beforehand when she was Chief of Staff at SDTC influenced your decision to bring her to CIBC afterward. You deny that it was related. Your work with her, your meetings with her when she was at SDTC have nothing to do with the fact that she went and worked with you at CIBC.
As I've mentioned before, the management oversees the day-to-day operations at Sustainable Development Technology Canada, which is an arm's length organization.
Merci.
And my
Mais
sole
vous,
Thank you, but you're not answering the question. It's a pretty simple question. Did your meetings with Ms. Batul when she was Chief of Staff at SDTC have an impact on your recruitment of Ms. Batul at CIBC? This is a question you can answer with yes or no, please, Mr. Bains.
It's an arm's length organization that oversees SDTC, and my responsibility as a minister was to appoint 7 of the 15 board members.
voyons. Je pense que je ne.
I don't think I'll obtain an answer from you on this, so I'll move to the next topic. A question that came up earlier. Who encouraged you to hire or name Ms. Verschuren? Was it someone internal to the department?
With respects to the individual, Ms. Verschuren, as you know, she had an impeccable track record. She was appointed by Stephen Harper
Ouais, j'ai
in
demandé qui.
2006.
I asked who. Who? Was it, for example, Andrew Noseworthy who encouraged you to hire her? Mr. Noseworthy, did he have anything to do with that process?
There was a new process established in 2016 that was open to all Canadians, and
D'accord,
it's an
point of order,
open.
Mr. Chair.
yes, Ms. Killian.
even though I'm sitting quite far away from my Conservative colleagues, I heard one of them call Mr. Bains a liar, which I think is not only disrespectful but also goes against our standing orders.
On the same point of order.
Yes, Mr. Brock.
I'm sitting with my Conservative colleagues. I heard no such thing. But more importantly, I laugh at
You
many
laughed
things.
at it.
I laugh at many things. I didn't laugh at that because I didn't
You
hear
laughed
it.
at it.
Chair, on that same point of order, I'm actually getting quite frustrated. I'm sure other members are getting frustrated at the obvious attempts of this particular witness, a former minister of the Crown, who is deliberately wasting time, not answering a direct question that's put to him, repeating the same talking lines over and over again.
Thank you.
From the
Miss-
same
okay,
testimony
Mr.
that
Brock,
he gave at Industry on June the 5th, 2004.
Chair?
I
I'm
presume-
asking the chair to interject and get this witness to answer the question.
Point of order, Chair.
Just one, I've got a couple of them lined up here. Mr. Cooper, I think did you have a point of order you want to make? No, okay, Ms.
I
Ms.
would
Kelly?
appreciate if Mr. Cooper would apologize to Mr. Bains for calling him a liar. We all know that when witnesses come to this committee, they are under obligation to be truthful, and I know for a fact that Mr. Bains, through his, not just his ministry, but also through the work he's done throughout his entire life, he's been a truthful and principled person. And I take personal
okay.
exception.
Thank you.
I take personal exception. I take personal exception not only to members in the Conservatives laughing right now, but also to somebody who is an innocent person being maligned by the Conservatives,
all right.
and this is their go-to, their motto.
Why don't I hear from Mr. Cooper now?
Of hearing time and
Answer
time
it.
again. This is absolutely unreasonable, Chair.
Thank you.
Well, on the same point of order, perhaps Mr. Bains can apologize to taxpayers
Okay.
for $400 million.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, thank you.
That's
Okay,
absolutely
okay.
Point of order,
Ladies
Mr.
and
Chair.
gentlemen,
Retract those comments.
Okay, all right.
That happened when he was the minister.
I'm not in a position to,
Standing order 117 says that, you have an authority to maintain order, but anything related to.
my job is to, my job, according to the order, according to so the standing orders lay out my role, which is to attempt to maintain order and hopefully succeed that. In terms of any kind of censure, that needs to be reported to the House if you wish to pursue it. I'm going to go back to Madame Sinclair Desgagnés, s'il vous plaît. Vous avez la parole pour.
You have the floor for about 2 minutes. Dear colleagues, we're trying to do our work, and I think this witness is key to the whole study of SDTC, so I'd like for him to answer the questions that are specific and that there is an end to the interruptions to questions. I'm just trying to do my work here. So, Mr. Noseworthy, did he have anything to do with the selection process of Ms. Verschuren? Yes or no?
There is a panel that was set up as part of this new
Est-ce que Monsieur
appointment
Noseworthy
Was Mr. Noseworthy on that panel
ou dans la sélection du
or in the selection of the panel?
the Privy Council office and included the relevant departments.
D'accord. Encore une fois,
Okay, once again, was Mr. Noseworthy part of that panel or part of the selection of that panel?
I don't recall the specific members of the panel. I do know that the Privy Council office led the panel.
y a-t-il moyen que vous ayez accès,
Is there a way for you to access that information? If so, can you send it to us, to the committee,
s'il vous plaît?
please?
You're asking about the panel composition?
Oui.
Yes, please.
Yeah, my understanding is the Privy Council office will be speaking
Bon.
on this matter, and I believe they will have the relevant information that you have requested.
Parfait.
Perfect. Because I don't think I'm telling you anything new. Mr. Noseworthy was in a situation of a conflict of interest. He knew Ms. Verschuren. He was friends with her. So even in selecting the board of directors, there could have been favoritism. And as minister responsible, you could have seen all of that and act accordingly. So my question is the following. when you made your announcement with great fanfare, $46 million in January 2020, of the 14 companies that were funded 4 years ago, if you don't remember things 8 years ago, maybe you'll remember things 4 years ago, 5 companies received COVID money without being analyzed on a case-by-case basis. So one was not eligible. So nearly half of the companies that you were proud to fund were not really eligible. What does that mean to you today? Or do you feel absolutely no regret about everything you did as minister responsible for this type of situation?
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for your question.
Decisions that were made by the management and the board were independent. And as I had mentioned, it's an arm's length organization, and there are clear rules in place to determine how these funds should be dispersed, and those rules needed to be followed.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Suivant, Mr. Desjardins, you have the floor for 6 minutes, please.
You guys are likely aware the work of public accounts is one that looks at Auditor General's reports, an independent office that has found a way to verify specific instances of very serious issues related to public trust and related to the accountability that's needed to Canadians in regards to potential breaches of the Act, to which I hope you can help clarify. The Auditor General's report, page 6, her overall message is that they found, quote, significant lapses in Sustainable Development Technology Canada's governance and stewardship of public funds. It goes on to suggest that the Board of Directors of Sustainable Development Technology Canada did not ensure that the foundation complied with its enabling legislation. Mr. Bains, are you aware of the enabling legislation of SDTC?
Are you referring to the legislation that was passed by the House of Commons?
Yes.
Yeah, that is the act that ultimately determines the role of the minister to appoint members to Sustainable Development Technology Canada.
And who was the minister between the time of 2015 and 2021?
As I stated in my opening remarks, in 2015 November, I took on the role at ISED, and I left on January the 12th of 2021.
Much for that, Mr. Bains. So you would agree that you were the minister responsible at the time for compliance of the Act during that period of time?
As I indicated in my opening remarks, the role of the minister is to appoint 7 of the 15 board members to this organization, which is independent and it is arm's length.
And just so that people are aware, did you in fact appoint those members? Did you appoint the satisfactory amount required by the board?
I believe there were a number of appointments that were made during my tenure.
Did you, or were you aware that the board had supported reducing that number to 2?
Could you repeat that in terms of the board did?
Of course. No, I'm happy to repeat, Mr.
elaborate?
Bains.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Mr. Bains, I'm happy to repeat this and to clarify this for you. Perhaps it's easier if I can ask whether or not you've read the Auditor General's report.
I did read the report.
Okay, Mr. Bains, if you read the report,
ago.
it suggests in that report that the minister is required to appoint the satisfactory amount of board members. After that period of time, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt to suggest that maybe you did in fact do the work needed as the minister responsible to appoint the satisfactory amount. The issue that the Auditor General is pointing out is the fact that the board was then reduced to 2 people. These 2 people, including Ms. Verchuren, would go on, and it would be difficult during their tenureship at that time of the board. They would go on to find or engage in direct conflicts of interest, to which the Auditor General has found to be pertinent to many, many companies, including her own company, that had received government funds. And this is the crux of the issue, Mr. Bains, and one that I think Canadians want serious attention to, and one that they need real accountability to. And I understand that you have to get going in 5 minutes, and this is going to be probably my last round to ask questions, and I do appreciate you being here. I don't necessarily appreciate the lack of answers, but that's your prerogative. My prerogative is to ask the questions. Your prerogative is to answer them. And if you don't want to answer them or haven't read the report, that's completely up to you, and that's the sense I'm getting at this point. But I think you'd understand the issue that I have and Canadians have and the Auditor General has. You're responsible as a minister to ensure that the enabling legislation to which you are a minister responsible for is followed, and at that time was appropriately enforced. The Auditor General is pointing out a very serious fact, Mr. Bains, that during your tenureship, that did not happen. In addition to these very serious concerns, Mr. Bains, there was a very legitimate issue that you were responsible for, which was the attendance of an assistant deputy minister named Mr. Andrew Noseworthy within your ministry. Mr. Andrew Noseworthy was you were directly his supervisor, directly responsible for him. You've met Mr. Noseworthy, correct?
Mr. Noseworthy did work at ISED.
And you met him, right?
That is correct. Yes, I had met with Mr. Noseworthy.
And you had many conversations with Mr. Noseworthy, I presume.
Several conversations over my tenure during minister at ISED.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Bains. And one of the issues that we found with Mr. Noseworthy was that he didn't know what his job was. And what kind of boss, in this case the minister, would have an employee, a very senior executive employee, assistant deputy minister, who the Auditor General had to unfortunately describe as someone who didn't know their job or didn't know their roles or responsibilities, to be exact, in relation to the fact that they were present. This person, one of your staff members, was present in the decision-making process of a board of 2 people that ended up giving themselves millions of dollars. That's a serious concern, Mr. Bains, and one that Canadians are upset about. It's harmed the very real and legitimate policy of ensuring Canadians get access to innovation funding for small and medium-sized businesses. And I'd encourage my colleagues to take this issue far more seriously than we have today, because there's a very likely fact, which is Mr. Andrew Noseworthy knew that he was likely going to find himself in a position where maybe he had to report to you as the minister responsible for what he had heard at the 2-person board meeting he was at. At any point in time, do you think he was ever going to question whether or not you would ask him what his roles and responsibilities are?
Thank you, Mr. Desjardins. It is my intention to get through a truncated additional round, so I'm going to cut you off there. We're going to have government and official opposition members will have 4 minutes each.
You led the committee to believe that you had no active role in the appointment of Ms. Verscheren beyond receiving a recommendation from the Prime Minister's Department, the PCO, as part of a so-called open, transparent, and merit-based process. You know that that isn't true, just as you knew it wasn't true when you misled committee in June. Isn't that right, former Liberal Minister Bains?
Thank you very much for the question. As I've highlighted before, Ms. Verscheren was appointed by Stephen Harper, Jim Flaherty, Christian
Former
Flaherty.
Liberal Minister Bains, let's follow the chronology of events leading to Ms. Verscheren's appointment, someone who was in a conflict of interest at the time that you appointed her. On March 15th, 2019...
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Khalid.
Is the former employer of the official opposition's wife out of order in calling
Ms.
Mr.
Khalid,
Bains the
come on.
names that he's calling him?
You in fact are up next, so you will have a 4-minute right to the floor at which you'll be able to take full use of it. Mr. Cooper, you have just over 3 minutes, please.
Former Liberal Minister Bains, let's follow the chronology of events leading to Ms. Verscheren's appointment. In September and October 2018, the PCO received 54 applications for chair of SDTC. On March 15, 2019, they provided you with a short list of 5 recommended candidates. That's the process you keep referencing. You sat on your hands. You ignored the recommendation of PCO. In April 2019, according to Ms. Verscheren, you called her. You asked her to serve as the chair of SDTC. all of a sudden, on April 30th of 2019, 1.5 months after you had a short list of 5 recommended candidates, she applies, and on May 21st, 2019, the PCO adds her name to the short list, and you thereafter appoint her. Do you really expect this committee and Canadians to believe that she was picked as part of a transparent, independent, merit-based process, and that you didn't have your hand involved in picking her? Is that what you want Canadians to believe?
It was an open, transparent, merit-based process, and as I've highlighted, former Prime Minister
No, what happened here,
Stephen Harper
what happened, former
her.
Liberal Minister Bains, is that you didn't follow the process. You didn't respect the process. You politically interfered in the process.
As I was trying to state before, Ms. Verschuren was appointed by Stephen Harper to the Canadian North American Competitiveness Council in 2006. Jim
Did the
Flaherty
other
appointed her
5
to the
recommended
Economic...
candidates have conflicts of interest with SDTC? Because Ms. Verschuren had a conflict of interest. What happened about the other 5 candidates?
Again, when we're speaking about Ms. Verschuren, I was highlighting the fact that she was appointed by Christian Parody, the former Minister to Science, Technology,
Mr. Bains, you're not
Innovation
answering my
Council.
question. I asked you, did the other 5 candidates also have conflicts of interest? Because Ms. Verschuren had a conflict of interest at the time you appointed her, $12 million that her company was receiving from SDTC, and you knew about that.
Mr. Cooper, I have a point of
All
order.
public
With all
office
due
holders.
respect.
Sorry, Mr.
And
Bain.
I truly respect Mr. Cooper, but he's asking the witness to opine on some other members that were part of a board. I just don't know what what Mr. Bains can say. We know that the former employer of the leader's wife is asking tough questions.
This is not a point
Well, it is a tough
of order.
Well, it would be dismissed. It'd be thrown out of court if it was a real court. But this is a kangaroo court.
As government members are prone to remind this committee, we are not a court. This is a question and answer session. So,
Thank you so much.
I've said that before many times because it is not a court. We're here to ask questions and receive answers. So, Mr. Cooper, you may proceed.
Mr. Bains, did the other 5 candidates have conflicts of interest as Ms. Verschuren did? Yes or no?
It's important to note that all public office holders must respect and follow the Conflict of Interest Act.
You were advised that Ms. Verschuren had a conflict of interest, and you appointed her anyway. I'm asking you about the other 5 candidates. You refuse to answer, and I take it that they didn't have conflicts of interest, and you appointed someone with a conflict because you don't give a damn about conflicts of interest. Isn't that right, former Liberal Minister Bains?
During my tenure, I made over 100 governor and council recommendations, and it's important that all those individuals that were recommended and ultimately appointed follow the Conflict of
You
Interest
knew she
Act.
had a conflict of interest. You
that
didn't
is
give
the
a
time,
damn,
Mr.
and as a
Cooper.
result, $400 million taxpayer dollars have gone out the door
Mr. Cooper, I will just
following
remind you
that conflict-ridden appointment.
Mr. Cooper, I remind